Want me just to pick up the ball? Okay. It's been taken this far by the state DOTs in Wisconsin and in Minnesota. We're at a special time here in Wisconsin, just as I told the people in Illinois 2 nights ago when we had a meeting about more service down there. You have a new governor. You have federal partnerships that weren't available for even 3 or 4 years ago for the kinds of federal funds it would take to make this railroad reliable for both a second and more passenger trains and freight. And you have a state budget window that we are standing right in now. We're a few days away from the governor of Wisconsin introducing his first budget. That'll go to the legislature, and as you know, if you follow this, it's very rare for the governor's budget to be passed at the other end of that pipe the way it began from the governor. And there's good things about that, and there's not good things about that. But the first objective would be to make sure that the work that Arun and the folks at WisDOT and MnDOT have been doing is heard by your state legislators and by your governor. So if it could be in the governor's budget, that's a wonderful head start starting place. If somehow, because we have a very tight schedule here, and we're probably, what, days away from the governor announcing the first state budget here, right?
A couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks. It's Valentine's Day is tomorrow. Certainly by March-ish, we'll have a state budget coming from the governor. Then the legislature has until the end of this, the middle of the summer, to act. So we have maybe a 5 or 6 month window here to go to the governor and to go to the legislature and say, this is important to Wisconsin. We're having the very same conversations on the Minnesota side. We're building apparently a statewide coalition in Minnesota for new service to Duluth and Superior, plus this service. We have a new governor in Minnesota too, and a new state transportation secretary in Minnesota, just like Wisconsin. So if we don't hit this window between now and when the legislature returns home from Madison this summer, we are going to be all standing here on a cold winter day in February saying it'll be another year. Now, we can do that, or we can stand here and say a year from now, okay, we have this work done, okay, we know what it's going to cost, okay, we know what federal grant programs are needed, and okay, we have some agreements in place to make it happen, and a clearer picture. Right now is when that window is open. Later this summer, that window will close for upwards of another 6 or 8 months. So if action isn't taken now, if you want this, in our democracy, if you want this, tell the folks you send to Madison, tell the folks you send to Washington too, to make sure the programs we need to pay for some of this are in place. And we could be here having another celebration and a great conversation about it's coming now, it's coming now. The last 4, 6, 8 years, it's been worked on. We have a chance, now that the ball is in play, to maybe get it over the net and make something happen here. Because now is when the window is open.
Thank you. Thank you. See, that's why he's here. I couldn't have said that, I wouldn't have said it that well. So when I handed out, you residents of Tomah, okay, look at the backside, and there they are, in black and blue. All right, you need to plug in your district, or maybe write to all of them, even if they're not in your district, and let them know how you feel about the train. Let them know where we are now, okay? And like I said on the front, give them a little personal story. Every one of you said you rode the train. Tell them what's good about the train. Tell them what's not good about the train, and what you heard tonight, maybe what would happen by adding the TCMC train would make that thing that's not all right, might make it all right again. Does that make sense? Did I have a good choice of words there? Okay. Almost 10,000 people boarded or deboarded, detrained the Empire Builder in Tomah. If I look at the numbers that Mr. Rao presented earlier, they're saying that that number could maybe double. Boy, what would that do for your town? What would that do for your town, Mayor? Okay? What would that do for your town, Mr. City Administrator?
It'd be fantastic.
Okay. What would that do for you? By the way, Ms. Vander Vandermeer is here. She's one of the names on the back of the sheet. She took time to come out.
Where was I last night? I think I was home last night. The night before last, I was at Galena and Dubuque, Iowa. They lost their state-sponsored train in 1981, okay? State of Illinois sponsored a train that ran from Chicago to Rockford, which is one of the top 5 sized cities in Illinois, and on to Freeport, Illinois, then Galena and Dubuque. That was lost in the state budget cut in '81, and since then they've wanted their train back. It gets pretty expensive to add a train where there hasn't been one since 1981. It's easier to add a train where there already is one, where there already are existing stations, an existing base of support of 100,000 people riding it in this corridor. It's a much easier lift for Wisconsin to do this than what Illinois would face on the 2 routes that have been hanging afire since 2006. One of the Quad Cities, Rock Island and Moline, and the other 2, Rockford, Freeport, Dubuque. So the cost of getting into this and doing a second train is much lower for you. We have a much higher lift. Here you have a state that's been working with Illinois, carrying a record number of customers between Chicago and Milwaukee, and this is an expansion of that program to this part of the state. Other states, Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri, this is a basic state service in those other states. I mean, the program in Illinois is upwards of more than $40 million a year, and we're talking less than 5 here, theoretically. The program in Michigan, which has 3 routes running to different parts of that state, is a $30 million program. That governor in that state, who was at that point a Republican, took some of the money that Wisconsin gave up and used it to fix his railroad in Michigan because he saw the economic value of having fast, frequent service across mid-Michigan. It's a new day. Ever since that day in November, in this state and lots of other states, including the one where I live in Illinois, it's a new day. And it's a new opportunity, and the window is open now to not lose another year, which is what we'll lose if a run of the folks at WisDOT don't get support from the people they work for, the elected officials there, who, by the way, work for you.